Hi, everybody. This is What is the Constitution by Patricia Brennan Demuth, and we're moving on to Lesson 6, Part 1. Lesson 6, Virginia Has a Plan, is the chapter we're going to read, or we're going to look at. We're going to look at all the pictures first. So if you've got a copy of your book somewhere, why don't you go grab that, and there's our brain ready to go, or your brain, my brain, somebody's brain. So we're previewing the chapter again. So once again, the idea of previewing the chapter is to warm up our brain so that we can retain more information and understand things better. There's also a bunch of reading strategies that we're going to employ. Now, we've looked at these several times. I'm just going to note that there's a change this last one. It says, if there are questions to answer, read the questions first. There aren't questions in the book for us to answer, but if not, change the title of the section into a question. So the section is Virginia Has a Plan. What is Virginia's plan? Let's make that question, and we'll try to find an answer to that question. Again, by thinking about this as we're looking at things, this is going to help us learn and remember things. So if you have your book, if you can open it up to page 28 and 29, and let's take a look at the pictures and the headings and the other things that stand out on these pages. So at the very top of the page, you can see it says Chapter 3, Virginia Has a Plan. So what is Virginia's plan? That's what we want to know about. Now we've got a picture on 28 and a picture on 29 that do not have captions. So we're going to have to use our brain. That's up there in the corner. We're going to have to use our brain to kind of figure out what's going on. So let's look at the picture on page 28. And you can see that in the left side of this picture, there are people that they're standing or maybe they're walking. And then you can see on the right side of that same picture, it looks like there are windows or openings in a wall of some kind. And there are some hands and arms, and you can see parts of people. And those people are holding things in their hands. It looks like sticks with bags or something. It's a little bit hard to tell what's going on there. If you look over on page 29, the illustration, it's quite a different scene. And it's if you count, you can see there are 4 people in the illustration. 3 of them are seated, and one of them is standing over here by the window, if you didn't catch that person. The thing about this picture, though, this illustration, is that there are some things in here that look pretty familiar. There's a whole bunch of tables and chairs, and in particular, there's this one right here. And this chair and table, it's facing the people out here. And I recall seeing something like this before. And so if you turn in your glossy pages, so if you flip to the glossy pages, in the 4th picture, looks like this one. So it's this 2-page picture. It says this photo appears to show the same room, or at least one that's very similar to it. It's shown on page 29. And it says this is the assembly room of Independence Hall, Pennsylvania State House. And we read a little bit about the State House earlier, so that makes sense. And here is that desk with that chair that I was pointing out in the last illustration. All right, so back to the text. Here we are on page 30. And let's take a look at these pictures on page 30. So you might notice, again, we have a bunch of people with interesting clothing and hair, looking different than how people are dressed these days. And some of these people are standing and some of them are sitting. And then this person who's in the foreground, person closest to us, has a feather in his hand. And there are books and a black jar on the table or desk or wherever he's sitting next to him. If we look over here at page 31 now, you might notice in this picture, it's more people with interesting hair and clothing, but we have a different looking fellow right here. And you can see here we have somebody again with glasses. That's a little unusual. This person's standing with his back to this person here. And so this person in the foreground seated in a chair and has a gavel in his hand. So you can see he has a gavel there. And then there's another one of these kind of black jars with a feather on the table there. On the next page, we only have one picture to look at and no headings or captions or anything. And so if we look over at this fellow over here, and you might notice that this person is wearing a soldier's uniform. Got a hat there. Looks like he's holding a gun. And then also, this person is standing right out in front of some doors, in front of these steps, in front of a building, or behind a building, in front of these doors, definitely. All right, and let's take a look over on this page, once again, we have an illustration on 35, but the one on 34, goodness, it's got a caption. That's excellent. And it says, Edmund Randolph. All right, wonder who he is. Does he have anything to do with Virginia's plan? Edmund is wearing this interesting clothing too, especially this thing around his neck. We see that in a lot of the clothing that people are wearing. And when I look at this picture and then I look over at page 35, I'm wondering, is this also Edmund Randolph? Is that why there's no caption underneath the picture? I don't know. We'll have to read to find out. The other thing you might notice in this picture here, there's a couple of people standing and there's several people sitting. And then we have this fellow here wearing glasses with his hand up to his face. And more interesting hair and clothing amongst these people. And then this person right here, if this is Edmund Randolph, looks like he's holding a sheet of paper. Perhaps he's reading from that sheet of paper. Who knows? On pages 36 and 37, the last pages in this chapter, we have one large illustration. And so let's notice what's going on here. If you count the people, there's appears to be 13 different people shown in these two pages. They all have interesting hair. This gentleman has dark hair. This person has light hair. This person, you can see their hair is pulled back in a ponytail with a bow and a bow here. And some of these people are standing and some of them are sitting, and they're all kind of facing different directions, which is kind of unusual. And then you can see this person over here, it looks like he's speaking. The way that his mouth is open and his arm is extended here like he's talking about something that means a lot to him. When I also look at these pictures, I look at this guy and I notice this chair again. It's kind of a very different chair than these other chairs we've been seeing with this. These chairs have rounded backs, and this has this special kind of back. And this makes me wonder, is this George Washington perhaps? Because we had seen pictures of George Washington elsewhere in this book, and this kind of resembles him. And then I look over at this guy here, and I wonder, hey, that kind of looks like Ben Franklin. I wonder if that's Benjamin Franklin. Not sure. Well, so next we need to actually read the text, and so that's our next lesson.